Hello friends, this is Dr. S.S. Deshpande, Principal of JG College of Commerce, Ahmedabad. Now today we will study David Ricardo's comparative cost difference theory of international trade. This is a part of semester 3 economics paper. The question is critically evaluate David Ricardo's comparative cost advantage theory. Now in the first point of introduction, you should write that this theory was given by a great British economist called David Ricardo. He gave this theory in the year 1817, and this theory was given by Ricardo in his very famous book on the principles of political economy and taxation. Number 2, we have assumptions of this theory. Now there are 6 assumptions we have taken. Number 1, this is a 2 into 2 into 1 model. Now 2 into 2 into 1 model basically means that there are 2 countries, country A and country B. There are 2 goods, good X and good Y, and there is one factor of production, that is labor. So there are 2 countries A and B, there are 2 goods X and Y, and labor is the only factor of production. Second is the assumption of labor theory of value. Now this means that the costs of production are measured in terms of labor units involved. Now, since labor is the only factor of production, the cost of producing the product depends on the amount of labor which has been used in the production of that commodity. Number 3, it is assumed that labor is perfectly mobile within the country, but it is immobile between the countries. This means that workers can move from one place to another place within the country, but they cannot move between the countries, that is from one country to another. Further, it is assumed that labor is homogeneous. That means all the workers, all the labor within the country is identical in terms of efficiency and productivity. Next is there are constant returns to scale. Constant returns to scale basically mean that the output increases in proportion to increase in the inputs. So there is a proportionate increase in the output in relation to increase in the inputs. And finally, it is assumed that there is perfect competition in the market. Now, this is the meaning of the term comparative cost difference. So what do you mean by comparative cost difference? Now, when one country is absolutely superior, it is absolutely superior in the production of both the products, but is comparatively more superior in the production of one and comparatively less superior in the production of the other, we say that there is comparative cost difference. I repeat. Now there are 2 countries and 2 commodities. Now comparative cost difference is a situation where one country is absolutely superior in production of both the products, but it is comparatively more superior in the production of one commodity, whereas comparatively less superior in the production of the other commodity. Now the table or the example will help us in understanding the meaning of comparative cost difference. So we have taken 2 countries A and B. There are 2 goods, good X and good Y, and labor is the only factor of production. Now the labor, that is the worker, in country A can either produce 6 units of good X or it can produce 4 units of good Y in 1 hour. I repeat, the worker in country A, the laborer in country A can either produce 6 units of good X or it can produce 4 units of good Y in 1 hour. Similarly, in the second country, that is country B, the worker can produce either 1 unit of good X or it can produce 2 units of good Y in 1 hour. Now this is an example of comparative cost difference. You can observe, you can see that country A has an absolute advantage in both the products. Okay. Now see, compared to good X produced in country B, country A is producing more of X. So compared to 1, 6 is greater. Similarly, compared to 2, 4 is greater. So this means that country A is absolutely superior in the production of both the goods, good X as well as good Y, right? But country A is comparatively more superior in the production of good X, whereas it is comparatively less superior in production of good Y. Now you can see that as compared to country B, country A is 6 times superior in the production of good X. But in good Y, it is only twice superior, 2 times superior as compared to country B in the production of good Y. So when one country is absolutely superior in production of both the goods, but it is comparatively more superior in production of one commodity and comparatively less superior in the production of the other, we say that there is comparative cost difference between the two countries. Now, on the basis of this comparative cost difference, David Ricardo suggests that country should export that commodity in which it has a greater comparative advantage. The other product in which the country has an advantage but comparatively lesser, that product should be imported. So what is the suggestion? What is the recommendation for country A? Since country A is having comparatively greater advantage in good X, it should export good X. And since country A is having an advantage in B but comparatively lesser advantage, it should import another good, that is good Y, from country B. And country B is having disadvantage in both the products, in X as well as in Y. But you can see that the disadvantage of country B in good Y is lesser, whereas the disadvantage of country B in good X is huge. So what is the recommendation for country B? B should export good Y, because although it is having a disadvantage in good Y, that disadvantage is comparatively lesser. So B should export good Y and it should import good X, because in X it is having a huge disadvantage. So instead of producing good X, it should import it from country A. So this is mentioned here. Country A should export good X and it should import good Y. And country B should export good Y and it should import good X. Now, if the two countries trade in this manner, okay, according to their comparative cost advantages, if the two countries trade with each other, then both the countries will gain from international trade. Now, this is the statement of the theory. Other things being equal, a country tends to specialize and export those commodities in the production of which the countries have maximum comparative cost advantage or minimum comparative cost disadvantage. Similarly, the country's imports will be of those goods in which the countries have relatively less comparative cost advantage or a greater disadvantage. Now, we are trying to find out the domestic exchange rates of both the countries. Now, we have seen in the previous table in the example that country A can either produce 6 units of good X or 4 units of good Y. In other words, it can produce either 1 unit of X or 0.6 units of Y. So the domestic exchange rate for country A is 1 unit of X is equal to 0.6 units of Y. And what do you mean by domestic exchange rate? Domestic exchange rate means the rate at which the two commodities exchange with each other within the country. So within the country A, what is the rate at which X and Y will be exchanged against each other? It is 1:0.6. Whereas in country B, the domestic exchange rate is 1:2. So the two goods X and Y will exchange against each other at this rate of 1:2, that is 1x equal to Y in the second country, that is country B. Now with these domestic exchange rates in mind, we are trying to prove that both the countries will gain from international trade if they trade in the manner suggested by the theory. Now I repeat, country A has an absolute cost advantage in the production of both the goods, good X as well as good Y. but since country A is having a comparatively greater advantage in the production of good X, it should specialize in the production of good X. It should export X and it should import Y. Now, although the first country, that is country A, is having an advantage in the second product also, that is in commodity Y, that advantage is comparatively lesser, and therefore A should import good Y from the other country. If you see country B, okay, this is the table. Look at these two numbers and compare them with these two numbers. So you can see that as compared to country A, country B is able to produce both the goods lesser. So country B is having disadvantage, absolute disadvantage in the production of both the commodities, but it is having a huge disadvantage in the production of good X, because it is 6 units by country A, whereas only 1 unit by country B. In the second product, again it is having a disadvantage, that is country B, but this disadvantage is comparatively lesser. Whereas country A is producing 4 units, B is able to produce 2 units of Y. The next is the proof that both the countries will gain from international trade when there is comparative cost difference. Now this is the domestic exchange rate of country A, this is the domestic exchange rate of country B, and you should know that we always assume an international exchange rate which is in between the domestic exchange rates of the two countries. Now it can be any rate between the domestic exchange rates of country A and B. That means your international exchange rate has to be greater than 0.6y, but it should be less than 2y. We have assumed it to be 1x equal to 1y. Now we want to prove that instead of trying to produce both the goods on their own, if both the countries enter into international trade with each other at this rate, then both the countries will gain from international trade. International trade will be mutually beneficial to both the countries when there is comparative cost difference. Now, country A should ideally focus on producing good X because it is having a comparatively greater advantage in good X. But suppose A tries to produce good Y on its own. Actually, according to the theory, A should import good Y, but suppose it tries to produce good Y on its own. So then it will have to sacrifice 1x to get 0.6y. So by sacrificing 1 unit of x, country A is getting just 0.6 units of y without trade on its own. But suppose country A specializes in production of good X, does not attempt the production of good Y, then it should first produce X and then it should export this good X to the other country, which in turn will happily give 1 unit of Y to country A. So it is going to get additional 0.4 units of good Y through international trade. I repeat, without international trade, if country A tries to produce good Y on its own, by sacrificing 1 unit of X, it is going to get only 0.6 units of Y, because that is the domestic exchange rate in country A. Now instead of doing that, if first the country produces good X and then exports this good X to country B, in return it can get 1 whole unit of Y for that. So 1 Y is always better compared to 0.6 Y. So country A is getting 0.4 extra units of Y because of indulging in international trade. Similarly, the second country B should ideally focus on production of good Y. It should not try to produce good X, but suppose if country B decides not to enter into international trade and it tries to become self-sufficient, it tries to produce good X on its own, what will happen? For producing 1 unit of X, country B will have to sacrifice 2 units of Y. It is better for country B to follow the recommendation of the theory. It should try to produce good Y only because it is having comparatively lesser disadvantage in the production of Y, or in other words, a comparative advantage in the production of Y. So it should first channelize or utilize its resources in the production of good Y. And once it produces 2 units of Y, it should keep 1 Y with itself. It should keep 1 Y out of 2 with itself and send only 1 Y to the other country. The other country A will happily give 1 unit of X. Thus, country B is saving 1 unit of Y through international trade. So, if the second country B tries to produce good X on its own, it will have to sacrifice 2 units of Y for getting 1 unit of X. But if it decides to specialize in Y, it produces Y first, then out of those 2 units of Y it produces, it can keep 1 Y with itself. That means it can save 1 Y. On this rate, international exchange rate, if it enters into trade, it will have to give only 1 Y to get 1 unit of X. So, what are the gains of the two countries? First, we have mentioned the country A's gain. Country A will get additional 0.4 units of good Y through international trade. On the other hand, country B will gain in terms of saving 1 unit of Y. Thus, both the countries gain through international trade when there is comparative cost difference. And finally, we have the limitations or criticisms of this theory. Number one, this theory also neglects the demand side. So the entire theory is based on the cost of production. The theory says that if you have a cost advantage, you should export the product. But see, it is quite possible that the same product in which you have a cost advantage, for the same product, the demand in the country can be very high. So your cost is low, you are having an advantage compared to other countries, but at the same time, the demand for that product is also very high. So often it happens that although you have a cost advantage in the production of a particular commodity, because of heavy demand, instead of exporting that product, you may be required to import it. So that is the first limitation. It is totally a supply side cost-based theory and it neglects the demand side. Next is, this theory does not explain the reasons for comparative cost advantage. This limitation is also very similar to the limitation of the previous theory, that is the absolute cost difference theory given by Smith. So these classical theories have this problem that they do not explain the reasons behind the comparative cost advantage. Why did country A have an advantage in good X and why did B have an advantage in good Y? So reasons behind these advantages are not discussed. And finally, most of the assumptions in this theory are unrealistic. We know that no country can have full employment, so there is no full employment. Perfect competition is also imaginary. Next is, the conditions of constant returns to scale, they do not prevail always. And finally, labor is neither homogeneous nor it is perfectly mobile even within the country. So this is the Ricardian comparative cost difference theory. These are the points you should cover in the exam. Number one, you should mention the introductory part, the introduction of the theory. Then you should write the assumptions followed by the statement of the comparative cost difference theory, rather the meaning of comparative cost difference. After that will come the example of comparative cost difference. Then you should mention the statement of the theory, the domestic exchange rates of both the countries. Then you have to prove that when there is comparative cost difference, trade will be mutually beneficial to both the countries. And finally, the limitations. Thank you very much.